learning and exploring new things. And thanks to my army background, I got oceans of opportunities to do that. So my parents always emphasized and made sure that we were given the best education in and out of home, the right values, and made sure that we were always connected to our roots. That is the reason every summer vacation was spent in my village, Haripur, Punjab, where my brother Tanveer and I would water the fields, play around in the tube wells, and even make cow dung cakes, something that my friends back in the city never understood and could relate to. So from having, getting transferred to a new place every 2 years, to making friends wherever I went, to the calmness, ruggedness, and the freshness of the village life, all of these places and the memories became a pit stop in that fun journey of my life, and I learned to adapt. Something that actually helped me, to be able to straddle the entire gamut of being in a city as well as in the village life very comfortably. Something that I was supposed to face in the near future, which I'll be talking about. I've always wanted to be a doctor, Dr. Meenakshi Chaudhary. In fact, as a kid, I've always had these 3 things that I wanted to be: doctor, Miss India, and an IAS officer. But let's be real now. The only way I'm being an IAS is when I play one in the film. But soon after school, I cleared my BDS exam, which is Bachelor's of Dental Surgery, and got admission in one of the reputed dental colleges. Life felt like a smooth ride, on my way to achieving all of my dreams one by one. But we all have tossed a coin at least once in our life, guessing whether it's going to be heads or tails when it lands. That moment when it is suspended in the air, in that space, flipping and flipping, that is life. The coin lands only when we cease to exist. So the coin of my life was about to flip for the boss. That completely turned my life upside down. My father was diagnosed with brain tumor, and despite all of our efforts to cure him, he passed away in January 2018. I was completely shattered because he was everything to me. I was very, very close to my father. I remember how every annual function he'd be there cheering the loudest and clapping the loudest whenever my name was announced on stage, be it for sports or extracurriculars. He was my biggest cheerleader, my biggest fan. So me being good in studies and good in sports, all of that amounted to just one thing on that one day of the year, to see him in the audience being proud of me and cheering for me. So after losing him, I had no clue what to do. The darkness that came into my life pushed me into an abyss, and I was sinking. My mother was lost. He was the only earning member of our family, and she cursed herself for not being able to study enough so that she could help us financially. My brother was dealing with his own grief. Everything was going downhill. But remember how I mentioned in the beginning that I'm a fighter and I get that from my parents? My mother stepped up then. She started picking up the pieces because she wasn't going to let herself and her kids go down. So here is where I have to tell you this very amazing thing, okay? My mother comes from a background which is as conservative can be, okay? We were protected in how? So she comes up to me one day with a newspaper in her hand and points at it and says, "You're going for this." I said, "Going for what?" She said, "You're going for Miss India and you're going to win it." I was shocked. Here is this woman with a very conservative and patriarchal upbringing telling her daughter that she's going to go for Miss India, that I'm going to go away from my home, stay alone in a big city, and make a name and place for myself. It hit me then that if I could deal with the hardest and toughest things that life had to throw at me, I could deal with anything. And that set my philosophy in life. Quite a simple one, really. That if life throws something that is tough at you, you face it, deal with it, and move on. And if it throws something that is beautiful, you embrace it and you move on. You cannot let whatever happens in life, no matter what, knock you down. Because when life pushes you to the ground, The only way is up. So I applied for Miss India, and I would practice walking in heels in the hostel corridors, much to the annoyance of my seniors. I would learn how to pose and smile, looking at all the other models in the magazines. I would also learn how to apply makeup, something that I was an amateur at through online tutorials. What most people don't understand is that Miss India contest, like any other competition, transforms your life in a multitude of ways. But it is also physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually draining. But I kept at it and gave it the time, effort, and respect that it deserved. And then, the coin of my life, which was still flipping, flipped for the better this time. I was adjudged as the first runner-up. But I only felt like I had achieved something when I saw my mother make her way through this massive crowd of people with tears in her eyes, trying to get to me, who had just been crowned as the first runner-up in a coveted Femina Miss India contest. There were tears of joy, there was happiness, and all those unsaid and unspoken emotions that only a parent could feel. That is when I realized the importance and the magnitude of the crown and the title that I had won. So I represented my country internationally and was adjudged as the first runner-up there, which is the highest ever placement that India has got in that particular pageant. But I wasn't happy. Everybody said, you'd achieved so much, this is a great thing. But I had wanted to win, and I'd done everything that I could. So while the euphoria of the pageant world continued, I knew it was short-lived. So I started exploring all the other opportunities that came my way, one of which was the film industry. But little did I know what it entailed. I had no clue how to go about it, what were the necessary connections that I was supposed to make, and how to grab the best of opportunities. I was alone and kind of lost in Mumbai, which is also known as the city of dreams, Maya Nagri, trying to make my way through and trying to find a place for myself and a home for my soul. So all of this starts with having to pay my own rent and my own expenses. I managed to find one place which was affordable, not that great, but to do, chal jayega kaam sort of a place. But I have skipped meals just to be able to save money to pay rent. I have hung out in coffee shops to be able to save the money and to save the electricity bill. There is one thing that I have to tell you, that if you want to be an actor, be ready to face humiliation and rejection on a daily basis. I don't want to get into the details of it, but it is something that if you're not mentally strong, it is going to break your spirit and you. So I worked very hard, and I remember I would be attending a lot of acting workshops. I would go for auditions daily. And